Hey everyone, how's it going? We got another episode of the Survival Guide to Life. And this week we got a really special episode with a really great guest, Mark Drager from We Do Hard Things. I want to thank you for coming on the show, Mark, and giving us some of your time. So, just with We Do Hard Things and coming up with that and having the drive for this, what was like the spark or like what kind of started you to go down this path?
Well, I love learning from people. I love speaking with people. I'm naturally very, very curious. And I do I'm an auditory guy. I think it's important that everybody learns how they learn best, whether it's visual or whether it's in like written form. If you send me something written, I'm not going to absorb really any of it. And so I have always learned the most from even when I'm listening to an audiobook. I'm listening to the audiobook and I want to interrupt them and ask them a follow-up question. And so I learn the most from just being able to sit with someone, ask a few intro questions, and then see where things go. Cause you unlock it's fun. You unlock the most curious things. And so I've been a podcaster for quite some time. I'm in marketing. I'm a brand strategist. And so really when I was sitting down to say like, okay, I want to spend more time with people who can teach me. I want to spend more time with people who inspire me. I want to spend more time digging into some of these things. And so really it just came down to like, what is the through line or the theme that would string all of these different conversations together? And for me, it was realizing, you know what? I think I'm kind of a soft guy. I want to be a little bit harder. I think I'm kind of lazy. I don't want to be so lazy. I think I kind of set goals and then 4 or 5 days later, I'm perfectly comfortable to ignore those goals. I don't want to do that. And so the we do hard things is a motto I have in my family. My friend Evan kind of says something similar. He says scary, difficult, hard. If he uses the word scary, difficult, hard, he says, no, you can't do that. For me, it's just like, you know what? It doesn't matter if I'm feeling weak. I'm Mark Drager and I do hard things. And it doesn't matter if my kids, don't want to take out the trash or something. I say, we're Drager. We do hard things. Right. So now I walk my dog, in shorts and a t-shirt, living in the winter in Canada. Right. Doesn't matter if it's cold. I do hard things. Doesn't matter if I don't want to go to the gym or wake up at 4:45. I do hard things. And so that's where it came from. It was this desire and drive to like not only become a tougher person, not only become more competitive and get more things done and hit my goals and achieve what I want to achieve, but just reminding myself that we learn the most through the hard things that we live through.
No, you touched on some really key and really important parts. And I think it's like when you sort of want to tread this path of like self mastery and you decide this, then you have this inner self talk like, okay, yeah, no, I can do this. I'm going to do this. And then you slowly do it. There's no better tool to take you down that than podcasting because you're learning from so many different people, and you're like in the times we're in where we have to be remote and like confined to like our homes. This tool can have you talk to all sorts of people and learn from all sorts of people, and it's like a ship just to get you to one destination to another. It's just so awesome.
Yeah, well, I mean, I agree. I started my first podcast, I think in 2014. I've been listening to podcasts for a very long time, but even before that, I used to listen to talk radio, and I would think, man, I could be a talk radio guy. I could totally like host a radio. Just put me in, coach. I could totally do this. Or, I went to film school. I went to film school to become a documentary filmmaker originally. And so when I was working in television, I'd be working in a TV studio behind the camera, like camera operating for like news. And, I think I could read off that teleprompter just as good as that sports person could, and so like part of me was always like, I could totally do that. I could host a TV show. I could, blah, blah, whatever it is. And then you try it, and then you get the footage back, and you're like, oh, I'm not as good as I thought I would be at it. But with practice and with time and with muscle memory and figuring all that stuff out, you are going to get better at it. And so I love podcasting because it's just the new radio. I love YouTube because it's the new television. But it's about being able to connect with people and learn from them and dig a little bit deeper.
Yeah, and then just on like speaking that like YouTube is like the new television and like podcasting the new radio, taking it on a marketing perspective as like that's your occupation. It's so crazy to think now like um what are the chances of someone going to watch a television ad and say me trying to advertise on there, or me having an ad on YouTube, and the chances of people watching it there and the times we're in now? So it's crazy to really think that, and like having to take that shift. So I wanted to ask, like in that way, as like a marketer, like what was that shift like from before and after?
Well, I mean, I started my company in 2006. And so, we were a video-based agency for the first 10 years of 10 years of our existence. And then we became more full service. But television. So people talk about like, should I advertise on Facebook? Should I advertise on YouTube? Should I start this or not start this or this or that? It all comes down to your intentions. So what are your goals? Who are you speaking to and where are they? So television is still an amazing place to advertise if you're the type of company who wants to sell something or communicate to people who watch television. So, if I wanted to target older, whiter males, Fox News might be a great place to advertise, I guess, right? If I want to target younger, first-time moms who, are super craftsy, maybe Pinterest is a place to go, right? So really, it like so much of these decisions, people get so caught up in the like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? It's like, where are the people that you want to connect with? And so if it's podcasting, if it's YouTubing, if it's IG, if it's TikTok, if it's whatever it is, it really just comes down to, as a marketer or a communicator or a salesperson, I want to influence you in some way, right? I want to introduce you to my product. I want to try and kind of have a sense of what you might think of it in advance and what you might really want and what you might really desire. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you why this thing will give you what you want or what you desire, or introduce you to the new thing. And then I'm going to connect all the dots and draw you through the path. So that way, ultimately you say, yeah, I really think this is a good idea. That's all advertising or marketing or brand positioning or sales or hosting, being a thought leader or speaking on stage. It's all the same thing, right? It's just like, I need to introduce my product, my concept, my thought, my brand, whatever it is, to you, which means I need to go to where you are at. And then I need to meet you where you're at in terms of what you feel, in terms of what you think, in terms of what's important to you. And then I need to try and communicate to you why I think I can help you achieve that. And then I either do or don't. I mean, that's all marketing is.
I think, right, it's like hook, message, offer, right? It's like you have the hook and then your message and then what you're going to offer them. But I think with what you said, it just made me think, like, so many people like have these conversations or these like unwanted long meetings, like, oh, what do you think our audience wants? Or like, oh, hey, Sam, what do you think our audience wants? Or hey, Kevin, what do you think our audience wants? Why don't you just ask them what they want?
Because often they won't tell you the truth, to be honest with you. So, I mean, the very superpower that I have, I started my firm in 2006. What I'm very, very good at, and I don't know why, but it's just intuitive to me, is actually just what you said. Like, hey, what do they want? I through research, through anecdotes, through questions, through what us marketers call insight, we can find all of those things out. But for some reason, for me, it's just like I have this I have this thing where something feels off. Like, it's just like, well, that's not going to work. And they're like, well, why not? And I go, because like, you're busy focusing on solving this problem, but that's not even the real problem. The real problem is 3 levels deep, and they're never going to tell you that. Like, the real problems are scared, right? And if we asked you, hey, like, I can think of, we used to work with a hairbrush company, right? Like a hairbrush company for hairbrushes. They sold $14 hairbrushes, right? Like, so you think, well, great hook, right? Like, this brush is awesome. Message and offer, get $2 off now. No. Like, the insight comes down to like, how do women, what is the morning routine of a woman? How much time does she spend on it? How important is her hair for her overall look? What are the challenges women with certain hair types? So this comes down to ethnicity. It comes down to a geographical area. It comes down to age. What kind of challenges do you have? What do you want to get out of your hair? How does having your hair look a certain way make you feel? Right? Like this is the stuff that we're getting into now. So that way, I'm not saying, hey, we sell you a $14 hairbrush. We make sure that if we're speaking to African American women who have a lot of complexities with how they care for their hair, there's a lot of history and tension in terms of what their hair means culturally for who they are, and they've been suppressed in that way. Now we're getting into all kinds of things for selling a hairbrush, right? It's not about selling the hairbrush. It's about creating and packaging something that will help these women feel stronger, feel better, say, like, so much more, right? And so when we're starting to talk about brand strategy, when we're starting to talk about marketing and selling, when I say like, hey, like, who is your audience and where are they? That's what you start with, right? Like, who is your audience? Where are they? And what do they care about? And very few companies, entrepreneurs, salespeople, marketers, very few people start that way, right? They say they do, like, oh yeah, for sure. But for some reason in me, I can, like, I had a conversation yesterday with a client because they wanted to use born in the cloud, right? They're a tech company. They wanted to say our software was born in the cloud. And I wrote this email that I didn't realize would turn into this big deal, but I said, born in the cloud means nothing, right? I'm in marketing. I work with B2B companies. I work with SaaS companies. I know tech. And I can tell you that born in the cloud doesn't mean anything. What you really want to say is remote ready, or work from anywhere, or access our software with an internet connection. That's really what you mean, right? Like, those are benefits for people. But born in the cloud sounds good, but doesn't actually mean anything. That's how I spend my days.
No, like even when you were talking about the hairbrush, like you had me sold. I was like, where is it? I want to buy it.
It's a great brush. It's a really, really good brush to help. It's a detangling hairbrush, so it's specialty. But I share all of these anecdotal stories or whatnot, not to say, like, look at how awesome I am, I'm so good at this. It's more like the level of thought and care that goes into this. So why did I pick We Do Hard Things? I thought about, who's my audience. I thought about, okay, great. So it's podcasting. It's on YouTube. It's for these people. I know who I want to speak to. I know what I'm hoping that people will get out of it. And then how does the name support that in this kind of ecosystem brand we're building?
No, and I think you did like a excellent job in that way. But when you said that, like, it's not really like that for customers, and they won't really tell you, what they want, it kind of made me think of something that someone told me. It said, like, when you hear a customer, don't listen to them when they have a solution, rather listen to them when they're crying. So I just wanted to, like, pick your head apart upon, like, that.
Yeah. So like here's a great example. I had someone email me on a Saturday. This Saturday, I had someone email me through our inbound lead channel, right? So I have a marketing agency, Phantom Media. They reached out to Phantom Media. The email comes to me on a Saturday, and I'm looking at their email, and they say, like, hey, this is the type of company we are. This is what we want to accomplish. This is what we're doing. Blah, blah, blah. And then they gave me like 12 questions. They're like, how is this guaranteed it's going to work? When are we going to, like, just question after question after question? So first of all, I could tell from their email, they're asking the wrong questions. They're not a good client for us. They're not a good fit. But the questions were really interesting. the question's really interesting because I tucked it away and I thought they're pouring, they're opening, exposing, showing, revealing to me what matters to them. Right. And so when I look at the 12 questions, there were like 2 or 3 themes there, right? Like, when will we start getting leads? How do you guarantee that it's going to work? How much do we have to spend? Like, I can, like, all of these questions, I could start to bucket together to go, okay, they don't have a lot of cash. They're going to take one swing at something. And so they need to be really sure that it's going to work. Because if it doesn't work, they're in trouble, or the boss is going to yell at them, or whatever it is, or this or that. It's a junior person. It's not even a senior person in the company. It's a junior person who shouldn't even be researching marketing. She doesn't really know much about marketing. And so one, we can't work with them. That's cool. I know who we can work with. We can't work with them. But I saved the questions because if I ever wanted to start working with people like that, she's just given me all of her fears and all of her concerns and everything just in that list of questions, right? So if I wanted to help them, I would start with a guarantee, right? Like, so they asked about a guarantee. I would bake into my program a guarantee, and I would say, we guarantee it for the first 3 months. They asked about how soon can the lead start. I would come out right away and I'd say, get leads in as little as 2 weeks, right? There's a hook because it's based on the concern she had. I could say, pay nothing for 90 days. And if you like us, then you'll give us whatever, $10,000. If I want, like, you can set up any business model any way you want. But again, it all starts with like understanding the customer and what they're telling you. And so yes, when they're crying is a great place. But the other thing, I have this saying in my company, which is what is the ask? Understand the ask, right? Like, when someone asks you a question or someone asks you something, what are they really asking you, right? Do you have a guarantee? They're not asking if we have a guarantee. They're actually asking if we're going to rip them off like past customers or clients have, or this or that, right? So here's an old example I used to use. We would send off a video to someone. We make a video, right? We'd make a video, we'd send it off to them, and they'd go, can you make it a minute shorter? Right? So that seems pretty clear, right? Like, we sent them a 4-minute video. They want it to be 3 minutes, right? Can we make it a minute shorter? If you want to answer that question, the question's yes, we can make it a minute shorter. What would you like us to cut? Right? But that's not really what they're asking. They're not asking to make it a minute shorter. They want it shorter because they feel like it's too long. They feel like it's too long because it might be boring, or it might not be engaging, or we may have missed the mark, or whatever. So what they don't want a shorter video. They want something that's tighter. They want something that's less boring. They want something that's more enticing and interesting. And once you understand the ask isn't a shorter video. The ask is something more exciting. You can now come to them with solutions that are more exciting. And you could say, do you really want a 3-minute video, or do you just want this to not feel so boring in the middle? Oh, we don't want it to feel so boring in the middle. I don't care how long it is. We just don't want to. Oh, okay. So we should really rework that section and change up the music. Like, and this is the key. Yes. Don't listen when your customers are complimenting you. I mean, that's great, but you're not going to learn from that. Don't listen to them just when they're buying a solution and it's everything simple and dandy. Yeah, when they're crying, for sure. But look at what they're saying. Look at the questions they're asking and try and think why. Like, what is the question? What is the possible reason behind it? And that skill has helped me in marketing, but also as an entrepreneur more than anything else.
No, and I think, like, even as like a entrepreneur and trying to tread down the path of self mastery, it's like coupled with one another, right? Like, as an entrepreneur, you're like trying to empower yourself while empowering everyone around you, and just trying to make everything more efficient. And I feel like when you step out of that business sense, you're still like programmed like that, so you're like always trying to level up and trying to make yourself better. So it's like, uh okay, like, how do I keep this going? Like, it's like your brain trying to tell that in yourself, and then you just keep going, right? No, with like trying to find like motivation and just like, are trying to do this day in and day out, what are some of the things that like really help you or like work for you to just like show up even when it's like the most difficult?
Hmm. I mean, that's a really good question. So again, I started my company in 2006. I was 23 years old. My wife and I just had our first daughter. She was only a week old. My wife was 23. I was 23. She wasn't working because she just had a baby. We had a baby. I quit my job. Quit my job. I was making $45,000 a year. Quit it. Going to start my own company. And and so what I've learned conference call this morning with my COO at 7:30 this morning, and I was like, blah, 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 like just like planning and let's go. And so, what motivation do I need right now? None. What I need right now is I need to focus on action and actually following up and making things happen. If you circled around with me in September, I was like super depressed. It was like I get depressed every fall because it feels like summer's coming to an end, and this year our kids were going back to school, but it's COVID and all of this weird stuff, and it's just like I was super down for like 6 weeks. And so, what I needed then for motivation, when I didn't believe in myself, when I wasn't sure if I even wanted to keep my company going or not, what I needed then was to not make something too big. What I needed to do was just put in day after, just show up, just put day in after day. Forgive myself if at 2 o'clock I'm feeling fuzzy headed and I'm getting really down, and the things that I've just spent 4 hours working on doesn't look as good as I want it to look. It doesn't sound as good as I want it to sound. It's just not good. Just like, cool, put that to bed, wake up the next morning with fresh eyes and keep going. And so I think, what I've learned over the last little bit, which is really important, is to create an environment for something to happen, and then it'll happen. Like if I wanted to have, if I want to lose weight, it's great to think about losing weight. But if I don't either put on running shoes and walk outside and put earbuds in and say, I am now running, right? Put yourself on the sidewalk, put yourself in the environment to run. Or if I don't drive to the gym, I'm not going to work out. Like I'm just not. If I don't come down to my office, if tonight I have a really important project to do and I don't come down here at 7:30 or 8 o'clock, and I don't close my door and I don't put on some music and I don't open up my computer and start working, the work's not going to happen, right? The kids, Netflix, whatever, it's just not going to happen. And so if you want to, um, if you want to have people push you more, you need to be an environment around people who push you more. If you want to be motivated, you need to put yourself in an environment where you can be motivated. So that's movement, that's music, that's what you're eating, that's what you're listening to, that's the people who are speaking to your life, the books that you're reading, the podcasts that you're listening to. For me, whether you feel like it or not, put yourself in the environment, create that environment very intentionally. And you're not gonna sit at your desk or stand at your computer when you should be getting work done and just not do anything, right? Like, no, you put yourself there, the work will happen, you'll feel great, and then you move on.
No, I think that's awesome answer. Is in like if you want this and you desire it, you really have to go and do it. It's like one thing to say like, "Oh, hey Mark, I really want this new shirt, and I really but it's too expensive. But then I'm not doing anything to get it, like you said. But then in a different perspective, or I just like sometimes I notice it with like the sphere around me. you'll say something like, for example, I'll just use a Ferrari for example. Say like, if I ask someone who you could say is in the realm of being poor or just not as well off, and I ask them, "Hey, do you think I can get a Ferrari next year?" They're like, "No, that's not possible. You How are you going to do that?" But then if I went on the other end and like asked a millionaire, "Hey, you think I could get a Ferrari?" Next to it, like, just one? Oh, that's easy. So I noticed that too. Like it's also really important. Like if once your values start to change, or like if you are going in a certain direction, you have to be really critical in like the people who you keep around you, and whether it be family or friends, you don't want to have any sort of like negative.
For
Uh, e-
sure. But
and
I would take it even a step further. If you really want that Ferrari, I would say go get a job at a Ferrari dealership and offer to wash the cars, drive them around in the parking lot, put yourself in that Ferrari. It's someone else's. It's their keys. They own it. You're not zipping around. You're not doing, but you're touching it. You're close to it. You can see the sunlight reflecting off the paint, and you can imagine that this will one day be yours, right? That's what I'm talking about by putting yourself in an environment. Yeah, you want the Ferrari, you put yourself around people who could never conceptualize having one, they think you're crazy. You put yourself around people who already have one, they go, yeah, yeah, for sure you can do that. You just need to, but I don't even think neither of those are enough. I think you go to the parking lot downtown where you know the Ferraris hang out, and you sit there and you look at it, and you check out the rims and you check out the wheels, and you immerse yourself into this to the point where you go like, yeah, this is what I want.
Man, I really love that. And just like when you said that, like I could like just close my eyes and like visualize like, hey, I'm driving it, I'm behind it, and
Yeah.
I think that's like what's really important in like even just storytelling, just like when you can talk and like the listener can just close their eyes and like everything's just being laid out for them, and I think it's like very few people have that ability, so that's one skill to commend yourself on. So and
Well, I am in marketing, so
yeah,
I mean, thank
it,
you.
but I think it's also another thing like how important do you think it is to like just like celebrate like the little wins in aspects, like we kind of like shy away from that, and then we're just like looking towards those like, oh, okay, big things that like, okay, I've accomplished that, but I feel like it's when we celebrate those little wins, then it's easier to get to that big one.
Mm. That's a good point because typically, in my experience, actually, the big wins are followed by depression. Right? There is a known fact that when you hit a goal, often people get lost after hitting the goal, especially a really big one. Especially a really big one. And so for me, when I started my business, a really big goal for some reason I had in my mind was $1 million annual revenue, right? Like we're a service-based company. When I started the company with $7,000, and it was only me. It took me a full year to hire my first minimum wage employee. So like we started really, really small. And so the idea of, our first year, I think we had 100 grand in revenue. And then the second year was 185, and then yay, the recession happened in 2008-9, and that kind of hurt us. But, we were at like 350, and then we were at like 650, and then we were hovering just south of a million. It's like, you just got to hit 1 million revenue. We hit 1 million revenue, and it was just like our expenses went up the same rate our speed went up. It's not like I was earning a lot more money. It didn't really unlock anything. And so when you hit those big goals, it feels good because you want to turn and you want to say like, hey, we just did this thing. But in my experience, these really big ones, I almost don't even notice, right? Like they're I would like to have a lot of money, and I've done pretty well, but you always want more money, and it's never quite enough. And so there was a time where, great, $1 million revenue. That was a goal that I had several years ago. And we've been able to grow the company more than that. The next goal that I kind of set for myself was like, I really want $1 million in the bank account, right? Like $1 million cash, like just sitting in a bank account. And then it was like, oh, well, what would that take? Was it better for me to be worth $1 million or to have $1 million? This and that. Anyway, there was a point where some things got sold, and then the company was doing well for a year. Anyway, there was a point in my life where I realized 2 months after it happened that I had $1 million of cash sitting in a bank account, and it was like, I didn't even realize that happened 2 months ago. And I was like, who can I tell about this? And it's like, no one. I can't tell anyone about this. What, am I going to go on Instagram and go like I have $1 million of money sitting in a bank account? Yay me. No, there's no one. And so it's just like, I hit this really big goal. Okay. Now I can tell you right now, I'd like to have $1 million cash sitting in the bank account. And that's not the case. But the point is, like, it was important to me. And I didn't even realize that 2 months later that I had missed hitting this goal. And then when I hit the goal, the celebration lasted 15 minutes. It didn't make me more comfortable. I didn't go out and spend money on anything. I just kept doing what I was doing. So to your point, the little goals are the only things that matter, right? Like you can't hit a big goal without lining up a bunch of little goals. And the little goals are the things that are way more achievable on the day or on the week or on the month. And you put those together and you can see momentum and you can see forward actions and you feel proud of what you're doing. I mean, when I looked at the statement, I was like, oh, there's over $1 million sitting there. The pride was so short-lived, right? And then there was no like great momentum. It wasn't a moment of momentum. It was the end, or it was the result of just a few random circumstances happening. And then it wasn't sustainable. Like I don't have $1 million in the bank account right now. So that's why I'm saying, like, the big goals are beacons and areas you want to move and what you want to do, of course. But the little goals are the only things that actually matter.
Oh, in that perspective, it just makes you like go in a rabbit hole and like really sort of see like where you're going and like what you align with. But then in a different way, it and in like a marketing lens, like I don't know why, but it's just like where my mind goes back to. But when you were speaking and when you touched on that, it really had me think like, okay, now what are the goals? Like, what are the goals of the client? And like, I feel like it's sometimes like we have their outcomes that happen, but they weren't foreseen or predicted. And it's like, oh, okay, so that happened, and we're like, oh, okay, we did this, but you didn't expect that, or you didn't like that wasn't your goal. So why are you trying to manipulate the results?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, like, so like, that's the perfect, here's the thing, right? Like, winning the lottery feels great, but it's not going to give you sustained happiness. Very few people are able to hold on to that wealth, right? Because it's been gifted to you. You didn't earn it. So listen, we celebrate. I had a reporting meeting yesterday with a client where we celebrated 3 really great breakthroughs that happened from a campaign we created. We created the campaign. We created the strategy. We created the structure. These 3 amazing breakthroughs happened, but none of those breakthroughs were our intention, right? Our intention was to go out and achieve this other goal. And so even though we say, yeah, these things happen, we don't pat ourselves on the back for that, right? Like, because that was given to us. It was gifted to us. Yes, we put ourselves in the place to make it happen. And we did the smart decisions and did the smart work, and the client was bold enough to spend the money and invest the money and make it happen. And those 3 things are amazing, and it's good for them. But they're gravy. They're bonus. How are we doing with the outcome that we wanted to achieve? And so that's why even with these big goals, when I say like the money thing, where it's just like, I mean, it wasn't like I was just like putting away the 10 grand, and I'm getting close, and I'm going like, okay, 3 more months, and then something happens and I lose the money, and then I earn the money back, and I'm just like, yeah, I did it. Like, no, it was just like, oh, this thing happened. Okay, cool. And then this thing unhappened. So, it's a bit like if you went to the Olympics and you won a gold medal because you were walking by, they grabbed you and they just said, hey, we need someone, right? You're not going to have the same sense of pride and stuff like that. So when I say that the only thing that matters for me are the little goals, is because I have found that the big goals either never happen, life changes, things change, whatever, or when they do happen, they're absent of that sense of of accomplishment and purpose, because it's just like, cool.
Now
Now
what?
what? Now what?
Yeah, no, it's like it's almost where like the road down there is like more fulfilling than actually at the end of the road. If
Yes. That's what they say. Now, I'm still very goal oriented. So it's like they say that like if you don't like the journey, you're not going to get the outcome you want. I do lots of stuff where I hate the journey and still hope for the outcome, but I'm going to assume other people are wiser than me.
But I always feel like the people who say, like you have to enjoy the journey and like, you got to be in it for the long, like they're already at that destination.
No one's at the destination. Hold on a second. No
Oh,
one is at their destination, right?
oh,
Tell
okay.
your dad. You're moving somewhere, you're traveling somewhere, you're learning, you're growing, you're scaling, you're doing something. Even listen, I just finished an episode of the We Do Hard Things podcast where I was talking to someone who's a very, very high level coach for NBA and NFL athletes. And she talked about just the doubts that they have, right? The doubts that they have, the fears that they have, right? They've hit the level. It doesn't ever end. No one's ever done with this.
So it's like it's just a constant level of just leveling up.
Leveling up and leveling up. The game never ends.
And even, I mean, and see, even at that level, you said that at a NBA coach, there's still these doubts and things that like come in your mind. And I could only imagine at that level or how you can manage it, or like what type of things are coming in your head, and like the amount of resilience you have to have. And just to take it on like a mindset, uh, conceptual note, Mark, uh, what have you noticed, like just for you, that is working or like just keeps you in like the right mindset? Like, okay, uh, say you might have had like a little too much for a Thanksgiving dinner, or you're in like for like Christmas dinner, and like or just like trying to get back and like, all right, let me get in the mindset. I'm about to work. I'm going in the basement. I have this to do, and
Yeah.
because especially now and like with a lot of free time. I think I've noticed even with friends just telling me it's like they really kind of find it difficult to just get that laser focus, and just
Mm.
really like,
Well, yeah. I mean, so for me, excitement and obsession are very, very important things you need to play with. So, what are you excited about? Because the things you're excited about, you're like, you're going to be thinking about. You're going to be like, I can't wait till later when, like I might be super late to the game. I'm an old guy. I've got young kids, but I've just started playing Fortnite last week. Last week was the first time I ever played Fortnite. I played it with my kids, and every evening now we have these epic like 4 people on a team. We're playing Fortnite. So earlier today, I was like working on a report going, man, I'd rather be playing Fortnite right now, right? That's excitement. It hasn't hit obsession yet, but it's excitement. And so, yeah, I mean, it's really hard to do stuff. But like, so if you want to lose weight and you want to get fit and you want to do those things, cool. So you had a bad day. You had a bad, last night I ate so much that I almost threw up at the gym this morning. It was not on my diet. It was all keto, but it was way over in calories, way over in carb count, way over in everything. I woke up this morning feeling like garbage and I felt terrible. And I went to the gym and I was like, I think I need a bucket because I'm going to throw up. And so it's like, well, that was painful enough. The hangover was painful enough that I don't really want to do that again. So I remind myself, like, I probably shouldn't do that again because I felt so bad last time, right? So there's pain. There's fear. There's like, oh, like if I don't work out constantly, I'm noticing that everyone not everyone, but a lot of people around me over the last 9 months have gained a lot of weight, right? Like they looked a certain way and now they look different, right? And it's understandable, right? It's understandable, but I don't want that to happen to me. And so like I've gained 12 pounds, I think, since last year at this time. And I can see it on camera. I can see it in my cheeks. That fear bothers me. I don't want to put on another 40 pounds and go back to my life the way it was when I was way heavier. Great. So now pain works, fear works, competition works, right? If I'm out there on Monday, I went for a 10K run in minus, whatever it was, minus 8 degrees Celsius weather because I couldn't get into my gym. But what I told myself is no one else is stupid enough to do this, right? Like I'm like everyone else in my life would go like, oh, I didn't get into the gym today because of COVID restrictions. I guess I get the day off. But what I told myself is like, watch me run this 10K in minus 8 degree weather. And I'm going to feel amazing because I'm using competition, right? To get me to do it. So, it could be compassion. It can be love. It can be guilt. It can be shame. It can be any powerful emotion as long as you don't go too deep into it, as long as you don't suck yourself. Like competition is terrible if you use it just to make yourself feel good and put other people down, right? And all of these things can be very, very bad if you're not careful with it. But honestly, your friends who have all of this time on their hand, they've got no excuse. They've got no excuse at all, right? Because, I don't have a lot of time on my hand, right? Like my life isn't slower or less busy than it was last year. And so you're out of work. Okay, great. But what are you doing with that time, that energy, that creative energy, that excitement, that obsession? What are you applying it to now? And if you're not applying it to anything, then you have no excuse. I'm sorry.
Okay, that makes sense. As we're coming towards like the end and winding up, there's three things that we always do to end the show, and the three things is what do you want to tell future Mark, and like coming back and watching this video like 2 years from now and be like you sort of like set it into existence.
So for me, I need to remind myself of a million things every single day, but it's think a lot bigger, right? 2 years from now, I'm going to look back and go like, man, why didn't I just think so much bigger? Why didn't I move quicker? Why didn't I take larger risks? Even if I'm thinking as big as I can right now, even if I'm taking the risks that I'm comfortable with right now, even if I feel like I'm moving fast, I know I'm going to look back and go like, dang it, I wish I was thinking bigger. I wish I was moving a lot faster. And I wish I was making more things happen.
And then two truths and one lie. So you have to tell me two truths and one lie, and I have to guess which two are the truths and which one is the lie.
Two truths and a lie. You're gonna have to give me a second. You might have to cut this out. You might have to cut this out. Two truths and a lie. Okay. You should have sent me this in advance. I would have prepared. Because I want them to be really interesting. I don't know, man. I'm so bad. You put on the spot for these kind of things. Two truths and a lie. Okay. Every Christmas we watch Die Hard because it's the greatest Christmas movie ever. I cannot stand the taste of mushrooms, and my favorite movie ever is Amelie.
Your favorite movie is Amelie. You watch Die Hard every Christmas, and you don't like the taste of mushrooms?
Those are the three things I gave you. Which one's a lie?
No, the lie is the mushrooms?
No, I hate mushrooms. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, we don't watch Die Hard every Christmas. We've watched it once or twice. Usually we actually watch it in the spring for some reason. But yes, Amelie is my favorite movie. I do not like mushrooms, and Die Hard is a pretty good Christmas movie, but come on, it's not the best one ever.
Okay. You got me. I thought I almost had. And then the last thing, if you could just share and send us off with a quote that's been resonating with you the most.
So on my podcast, I've had the pleasure of interviewing a lot of different people, but I think it was my seventh or eighth interview in the series, but I moved it to the very first episode because Sonia Wick, who is this amazing athlete and a mom, and she was in Amazon's Eco Challenge, the world's toughest race. I interviewed her, and she said something that has stuck with me so much that I even asked her if I could start using it. Work always works. And so a lot of times me or others, I tend to judge the like I'm doing a workout. Is it a hard enough workout? I'm answering emails. Am I answering emails fast enough? Did I say that right? Did I do that? Blah, 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 blah. We judge so much of what we do. And what I remind myself is work always works. And so, it really just comes down to putting in the time, putting in the hours. It will always lead to a better outcome. It just might be a little bit slower. It might not be what you want or the way you want it or this or that. But if you put in the work, it will always work. And I love that quote.
That's a really awesome quote, and I want to thank you for your time and pushing everyone to do hard things.
Thank you, man. I've had fun.
Likewise. Hold on, let me stop. I think I